Hey guys, welcome back. Now, after the recent launch of the Ethereum ETFs, what did we see? Well, following in Bitcoin's footsteps, we saw a big sell-off, likely due to all the people who'd been trapped in the Grayscale Trust for many months. And after the most recent sell-off, it was great to see. Asia had bought the dip and crypto has quickly bounced back. And so never a dull day in crypto. However, the questions remain: what happens next and when do we get back to setting new all-time highs? We've all had to wait over 4 long months now, so I believe chances are it's coming very soon. And so in this video, we'll be covering the most recent price action to see what is going on. We'll see how the other major asset classes are doing this year to get the true perspective. We'll see where are we in crypto's 4-year cycle. And then we'll finish with the biggest developments from all around the world in just the past couple of weeks. Okay, so after the most recent sell-off, how quickly everybody suddenly loses their shit. Let's jump in with the latest price action. So jumping in to the Bitcoin USD chart, and what do we see? Well, my least favorite way to look at the crypto market is the daily chart, because the daily chart in crypto is absolutely chaos, full of booms and busts, fear and greed, and it's a little bit chaotic. And this is just Bitcoin. If we were to actually look at the smaller coins or even some of the really small cap cryptos, it's just chaos. So my least favorite view is the daily. However, what do we see? Well, my thesis is still that we're digesting the ridiculous move that happened following the Bitcoin ETF. And this went all the way from 38,000 to just shy of 75,000. So a massive move. And what have we had to do? We've had to pay a big price of long, boring, sideways consolidation now for over 4 months. Now, a much better scenario from here is if we had some small consolidation, then maybe a nice breakout, then again some sideways consolidation, a nice breakout move, some sideways consolidation, another big breakout move, some sideways consolidation, and we'd be actually at the exact same place. However, in this scenario, everybody would be really happy. We would have had breakout after breakout after breakout, yet we ended up in the exact same place. But what did we get? We got a massive, ridiculous move, and now we've all had to pay the price of this long, sideways, boring consolidation. So that's the first point. Next is this Ethereum ETF launch. We did, in fact, get a flush. So let's take the measured move, and looking at the Ethereum chart, we had it dropped down about 13%, which actually is not that bad. If we look at Bitcoin and what Bitcoin did, Bitcoin's drop was actually 20%. So if anything, you'd expect a bigger drop from Ethereum with it being a smaller coin. However, 13%, it's actually not that bad. And we've got a nice little tail here, reversal in the last couple of days, meaning that Asia didn't panic. They did in fact buy the dip. So whether another sell-off continues and we retest this line, I think it's only a matter of time, and it's probably coming very soon that we retest this 70 and the latest all-time high of about 74, and we go off to the next leg. Now, the 2 words to remember right now are patience and perspective. So let's get out of the daily charts and get the true perspective looking at the other assets. Now, if we look at the S&P 500, Most recently, there's been a big sell-off, and the same with tech stocks, and everyone's kind of freaking out right now about this latest big sell-off. Well, if we remember from stocks, on average, stocks will get a correction every single year. And a correction is a drop of over 10%. So just looking at the S&P, what do we have? Well, this big drop everyone's freaking out about is only 5%. And what about the Nasdaq? Well, this is probably closer, 9%. So it's not even correction territory. So this, a 10% drop, is something that happens on average every single year. So this is perfectly normal. And looking at the SPX and what it's done so far this year, the other thing we need to remember is that on average, the S&P goes up about 10% a year. And so far, year to date, the S&P is up almost 14%. And that's after this last big correction. And we're only halfway through the year. So stocks are going on an absolute tear. And the S&P is even keeping up with the Nasdaq, which is again just short of 14%. So the run rate for this is almost 30% in a year, which is massive. And this is even after this latest big correction. So stocks are booming. And what about crypto? Well, if we look at Bitcoin, even after this last big correction, it's up 51%. And what about Ethereum? It's up almost 40%. So Bitcoin and Ethereum, even after this last big correction, is still having an amazing year, and it's still massively outperforming stocks. So that is the true perspective. Now, jumping into one of my favorite ways of looking at the crypto market, and that's the 4-year cycle. And for all the people just joining us for the first time on this video, this shows the 4-year cycles in crypto. And the reason we look at Bitcoin is Bitcoin is like the index of the market. If Bitcoin is going up, you can virtually guarantee that all the altcoins are exploding. If Bitcoin is crashing, then likely altcoins are crashing even harder. But it's a great way to see what's going on in crypto in just one chart. Blue being the first 4-year cycle, orange being the second, and green being the third. And we're now in this red, moving through the center point, which is the halving, the turbulent time after the halving, and this is where we're at right now. And the other thing to note is that each time we are getting diminishing returns due to the size of the market, and it's now in the trillions of dollars. So I think this is going to continue, where the first cycle was over a 200x from bottom to top. Next one being over 100, then 20, and I predict it's probably going either to a 10x or 15x from its bottom. Now, for a lot of time this cycle, it was massively outperforming every other cycle, which is due to the ridiculous run that we had, which I showed in the last chart. And this long, boring sideways consolidation is actually just bringing us back to fair value. So we're back under the blue, which is where it should be, but we're still ahead of the other two. So let's just knock out this blue. And I'm going to draw on what I think would be a great result for this cycle. So it would look something like this. If we can keep track with this orange line, this is what fair value would look like. Just consistent growth. It would then come back under the previous two cycles, which is where it should be. Consistent growth. And after 18 months, we either get to this 10x or maybe something a bit more blow off top to a 15x. So I think this would be a great result for crypto. However, because we are human and because we operate with fear and greed, and the market is full of degens, what's likely would happen is we get massively overbought, we get huge sell-offs, and it's going to be this massive choppy boom and bust all the way as we head through this cycle, with greed taking over, fear taking over, reverting back to the mean, and it's probably going to be something like this. So although I would love this red line where everybody's making money, prices are just going up every single week, higher and higher, and then we finish with a nice flurry. Unfortunately, it's going to be a very rocky road, but I'm guessing the cycle should probably look something like that, with Bitcoin getting to around the 150,000 to 250,000 in this cycle, meaning altcoins should 3, 4, 5x if you're in the top 10. Obviously small caps, many will go bananas, and everything in between. And the last thing to point out is about this banana zone. What's really jumping out to me lately is that the most exciting part of the crypto market, which everybody loves, happens in the last 3 months or maybe the last 6 months. So you have to wait 4 years to just get involved in the last 6 months, which is the most exciting part. Then the other 3.5 years, it's a very, very challenging place to be. So that is something that's really jumping out to me recently. Everything we love about the crypto market happens very, very quickly and right at the end. So probably 2025, and the starting point, if we get a Trump-Vance win, that is probably going to be the catalyst for the banana zone. And finishing up with the biggest developments of the past couple of weeks, obviously everybody knows by now the spot Ethereum ETFs went live with a bang, over $1 billion in volume, 100 net inflows on the first day, and it's following in Bitcoin's footsteps. It's been very turbulent since, so we probably need to flush out all of the grayscale stuff, and then we're off to the races. Now, as mentioned, a Trump-Vance win is going to be massive for the crypto market. Trump recently announced that JD Vance will be VP, and luckily for us, he is very pro-crypto. Not only does he have some of his net worth in crypto, but he also hates Gary Gensler. Check this out.
If there's a candidate for worst person, in my view, at least in terms of my substantive disagreements, I'm sure he's like a nice guy, is Gary Gensler. Okay, so Gary Gensler is sort of the complete opposite of my view. And there are two problems that I have with Gary, one of which is that I think he wants to inject politics way too much into the actual business of securities in the United States of America. But in some ways, the more fundamental issue, or at least the most relevant issue for this particular conference is the approach that Gary has taken to regulating blockchain and crypto seems to be almost the exact opposite of what it should be. And I'm oversimplifying a little bit, but the question the SEC seems to ask in regulating crypto is this a token with utility? And if it's a token with utility, then they seem to want to ban it. And if it's a token without utility, they don't seem to care. I almost think we should be the opposite here, right? I worry about financialization. I worry about, frankly, whether a lot of the crypto stuff is fundamentally fake. But if a token actually has utility, that's the sort of thing that, by all means, regulate it. By all means, be careful about, how consumers interact with it. But you don't want to just get rid of this stuff. And here's where I really, really worry about this is a lot of the newest challengers to social media, the social media incumbents of 2024, are going to require some blockchain technology to make their business work. Maybe they'll require a token that supports verification. There are all of these ways in which the companies, when I talk to sort of friends who are still in the VC industry, the companies that are most exciting to them, they're doing actual things in communications in the 21st century, in 2024, I should say. Those companies very often rely on high utility tokens to do things like verification. Well, if we're not making it possible to do verification, then we're going to make it really hard to challenge the existing incumbents in the space.
I'm mindful of the time here, so let me just offer one final observation. I have little hope that I could persuade you that hiring committed partisans and using the regulatory powers of the SEC in a way that looks, and I think is, politically partisan is a true threat to American democracy. But maybe I can appeal to your sense of self-interest. If you guys use the SEC in such a politically motivated way, eventually you're going to be out of power. And I have to say, Chairman Gensler, turnabout is fair play. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Now, something else worth checking out if it's not on your radar is Polymarket. And the great thing about this is that it's a great use case for crypto. It's built on Polygon, sidechain of Ethereum, and it's a betting prediction market. So unlike these false polls that get put out, where if it's a Democrat news station, it will artificially pump up Kamala Harris, and the same for the Republicans. Well, the great thing about this is when people actually have money on the line, you get a true picture. So one of the things people are betting on to the tune of 386 million is who is going to win the next election. And as of right now, the prediction markets are showing a 60-40 split between Trump and Harris. So this is way closer to the truth. And at the minute, this would be a very comfortable win. So if you want to keep an eye on how the runners are doing, and there's even other things like, will the Fed cut interest rates next week, as well as lots of other very cool things, Polymarket is a great place to see. And the last three, we had Stripe, a massive payment company with millions of users, have now expanded its crypto integration into Europe, allowing people to purchase cryptos on their credit and debit cards. We have VanEck expanding their ETNs, exchange traded notes in France, enabling the pension schemes to get involved in crypto, which is great. We have Trump about to speak at the conference, which is going on right now, with maybe a special announcement coming from there. And then hot off the press, we've just heard that New Jersey mayor plans to invest the city's pension fund into the Bitcoin ETFs. So more pension funds getting involved, which is amazing to see. So as you can see, guys, there is tons of amazing bullish stuff going on. After the most recent sell-off, how quickly everyone suddenly loses their shit and panic sets in. However, the two big words to remember right now are patience and perspective. Remember, the S&P 500 on average goes up 10% a year. So far, it's up 14%. We're only just over halfway, and this is after the latest massive crash. Even after this last crash, Bitcoin is up 67%, Ethereum is up 50%, and again, this is after this last big crash. Although it doesn't feel like it, we are actually still early in this market cycle, and it's only really about the last 6 months where everything goes crazy, the true banana zone. So probably it's going to be after a Trump-Vance win and 2025. We've not even started cutting rates yet. We've not even started bringing back liquidity in the US yet. We still have the crippling Biden administration and Gary Gensler leading the SEC. So all the good stuff is still yet to come. So there you are, guys. Hope you enjoyed. Now let me know your thoughts and comments below. However, just remember, to get rid of 100% of the comment spam and trading bots that plague YouTube comments, we are trying out the new SuperThanks Commenting system. So to get your question or comment read and replied to, or just to say thanks, then use SuperThanks below. And for now, just to say, if you did enjoy anything in the video, then drop a like, and a big thank you to everyone who does, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.